Welcome back to Gold Derby, everyone. We are here to talk about the 2024 Golden Globe nominations for film. We will do another slugfest for TV, so look out for that one. I'm Marcus James Dixon. I'm here with Ray Richmond, Denton Davidson, Daniel Montgomery. So the big story, let's talk about who got the most nominations. Barbie tops everything with 9, followed by Oppenheimer at 8. Killers of the Flower Moon and Poor Things both have 7. And then 5 nominations for Past Lives. So those are all the winners. Denton, what do you think is the biggest snub of this year?
For me, the biggest shock was The Color Purple missing for musical or comedy, since it is really the only musical that was in contention. Typically, the Golden Globes have loved musicals. I know the voting body is a little bit different this year, but they clearly saw it because Fantasia and Danielle Brooks both got in. But no Taraji P. Henson, that was a surprise, and no Color Purple. So I was
Not even original song.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that
that's a
was
bummer.
surprising for me.
It makes me wonder, like, did they even watch it? Because they could nominate Fantasia and Danielle without watching it, just based on the trailers. Like, maybe they didn't see it in time. I don't know what went on there.
But you can
Daniel,
say that about Taraji. I mean, Taraji is heavily featured in the trailers. So
it's weird.
It
Daniel,
seems like the kind of movie they would snub, though. Um,
oh,
in the past, I don't know if how much we can compare to the past because there is no more Hollywood Foreign Press, but they have not always honored African Americans or African American themed projects at the Globes, and I feel like that could be continuing with The Color Purple snub.
Well, they do at least have black members now.
Yes, yes, maybe only a handful, but they have a few.
some of the other snubs, I'm looking at the article written by Denton at goldderby.com. No Saltburn for drama or The Iron Claw. No Wonka for film comedy.
nothing huge, really. I mean, there weren't a lot of surprises.
No, that was my
In terms of like
story
who we
about
have in the top
surprises.
6. For Barbie, I mean, Barbie did extremely well with 9, although you have to look at like 3 of those are for song. So that sort of like
And
heavily,
one is for that cinematic box office achievement thing where they
right,
even nominated 8 movies. It's like
right.
we really want famous people at our party, so let's put Taylor Swift in
Hmm.
there.
So it doesn't, I mean, so Barbie's not a slam dunk for comedy. Poor Things still didn't miss anything it needed. It got in everywhere that it really should have. So I still,
The holdovers kind of got screwed a little bit.
yeah. So I still think comedy is really between Poor Things and Barbie. And then Oppenheimer did really well. I mean, I feel like Oppenheimer at this point is a pretty overwhelming favorite. And then on the comedy side, I'm still leaning towards Poor Things, and Barbie is obviously a real contender as well.
Let's talk about drama first. So the nominees are, and there's 6 this year in every category, which is kind of cool, except for that box office one, which did have 8, which is a little bit weird.
The box
And I
office
just,
thing is like honoring money. It's sort of like we are
yeah.
now going. This is
And I
our own
hate how if
cash.
you're a big film that's going to open in December, you're not even eligible for that because the nominations are so early in the year that you're not going to count. Okay, but the drama nominees: Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and The Zone of Interest. Ray, what is your money on? What do you think is winning this one?
I feel like Oppenheimer is building momentum, and and it is has got to be looked at as a favorite here. Um, which I think is going to be a good precursor for the Oscars too. It's starting to look like sort of an overwhelming favorite, and uh, outside possibility would be Zone of Interest, which I think is really starting to build momentum in its own right. And I have to see it.
And Daniel, what do you think is winning drama?
I think probably Oppenheimer, although, Killers of the Flower Moon didn't really miss anything either. So I think that could go either way. The only benefit I think Oppenheimer has like 1 extra acting nomination. So I don't think that's hugely significant in terms of, chances of winning. So I'd put them almost even at this point. But just given that Oppenheimer scored everywhere and has the most for a drama, right now I'd say Oppenheimer.
And Denton?
Yeah, I would probably agree with Oppenheimer. Very interesting that three of these nominees are also in the non-English language category. I don't know if that's ever happened. Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, and The Zone of Interest. So that's very interesting. Although also they were all in our predictions. We nailed this category in terms of our overall odds. So we did
They
very
were
well.
eligible in previous years. Like I think if you were in a non-English language film, they would like leave you in that category, and you like your actors would be eligible in the main categories. But I think they left you out of the film categories, and now they're allowed
Well,
to
they
be.
need this because none of them are eligible for the Oscar for Best International Feature. So if they're going to get in at the Oscars, they need a Best Picture nomination.
Zone of Interest is Zone of
Oh,
Interest.
Zone
Is,
of Interest is, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go rogue since you're all picking Oppenheimer. I'm gonna say Killers is winning. I think they could split this. I think Christopher Nolan could win director. Killers of the Flower Moon could win picture, but we'll see. I mean, there's still a month to go before the ceremony, so I'm sure I'll switch around a lot in my predictions.
or they could
Um,
pull like a Bohemian Rhapsody and give like it to Maestro. Not to compare them qualitatively, just like the music-driven film. It doesn't have the most nominations, but it has a lot of passion. So it got 4 nominations. I could see it.
Best motion picture, musical or comedy. The nominees are Air, American Fiction, Barbie, The Holdovers, May December, and Poor Things. Ray, let's come to you on this one. Who do you think is winning comedy?
You know, right now I think it would be between Barbie and Poor Things, and those movies are so similar to one another. No, I feel like Poor Things is the kind of avant-garde, offbeat film that the Globes historically have liked to honor. And I saw it for the second time over the weekend with my son, and it is so good. It's even better on the second viewing than the first when you really know what to be looking out for. Um, I feel like this is sort of a two-horse race, but I feel like Poor Things will overtake Barbie in the end.
I think you're right. And I think the only reason they created the Box Office Achievement Award is to give Barbie something big. And so then they're like, oh, we can do something else in comedy now. We can do Poor Things. Or at the time I was thinking Color Purple, but obviously that was crazy. Daniel?
I actually think Poor Things is pretty far ahead. Like considering that so many of the nominations for Barbie are in songwriting, and the one cinematic and box office achievement. If you take those away, that brings it down to like 5 in the same sort of playing field that Poor Things is. So Poor Things actually performed better in the other categories than Barbie did. Um, which I think are, although Barbie did get writing and directing, which I think are key. So that keeps it a strong contender in this race, very much so. But I think Poor Things. I'm fairly confident at this moment that Poor Things is going
to. Denton?
I agree with Daniel. I think I'm pretty confident with Poor Things, and I agree with Marcus that they'll probably give Barbie the box office award, and then it'll be easy for them to award Poor Things for comedy. Poor Things got nominations everywhere it needed. It got more acting nominations with 3 as opposed to 2. So my money's on Poor Things.
All right, let's talk about some of the acting races. For drama, female actor in a motion picture drama, we have Annette Bening. I mean, come on. I'm so happy she's in. People were doubting her, but she made it. And then Lily Gladstone, Sandra Huller, Greta Lee, Carey Mulligan, and Kaylee Spaney. Denton, what do you think here?
Again, this is something that there were no surprises on in terms of Gold Derby odds, actually. These were our top 6 going in. So I'm not really surprised. I think that Lily Gladstone has the momentum right now. She's been winning with critics. But anything can happen. It's interesting how, like with this new voting, how to see what the Golden Globes will be like this year and who they choose. A lot of years, they do go with Hollywood royalty or children of, so Annette Bening might have had a better chance. But Killers of the Flower Moon, such a big movie. I have a hard time seeing Gladstone losing this.
Daniel?
I actually can see her losing this. I'm probably predicting her for the win, but the fact that Anatomy of a Fall did so well, and the fact that Sandra Huller is in 2 of the Best Picture nominees for drama with The Zone of Interest, that makes her a really strong contender here, I think. And then the overperformance of Past Lives relative to our expectations. I'd say Greta Lee is also in it, although probably more of a dark horse, not as close to the front runner status. So I'd say it's between probably Sandra and Lily at this point.
I agree with you. And Ray?
It's a very strong list. I think Lily absolutely, I would agree, has the inside track. But I'm going to go a little bit off of what's already been said by saying that I think Carey Mulligan could have a real outside shot, especially if Maestro does better than anticipated, and it could. I think there's still a little bit of a inclination to want to honor Bradley after so many years of being passed over at the Oscars, probably at the Globes too. So I think it's Lily, but I think Carey's is the dark horse.
Well, speaking of Bradley, he is one of the male actor drama nominees. Also, Leonardo DiCaprio, Coleman Domingo, Barry Keoghan, Cillian Murphy, and Andrew Scott. That is a strong list, I'll tell you what. And I'm going with Bradley Cooper. I think he is way overdue, like Ray was just saying, and he gives the performance that is worthy of awards recognition. It's not just like a career achievement award. This is like he actually dominates every scene that he's in this movie. Does anyone think that Bradley won't win?
I think Bradley's a slam dunk all the way through the Oscars. Cillian was leading our odds in all of these nomination rounds, but now that the nominations are going to start to come out, I'm going to be very curious to see who people actually choose as the winner. And as more people continue to see Maestro, I think it's not going to be close. I think Cooper will win every televised award.
That's interesting. I feel like things are starting to fall into place for Oppenheimer to win picture and director, and Maestro to win the acting awards, the lead actor awards. Even though last week in our slugfest, I was going with Scorsese for director. I'm switching around now to and Seeing the Light and switching to Christopher Nolan. And I feel like, I think Bradley, this is his year, and I think he could very well take Carey Mulligan with him.
Daniel?
I think it's going to be Bradley Cooper. I don't know if it'll be a full sweep, but it could very well be. Besides that, I just want to say this is probably one of my favorite categories because 2 of my favorite performances of the whole year both got in, even though they were both probably somewhere on the bubble. Barry Keoghan and Andrew Scott, both just, I love those performances so much that whoever wins this award, I'm just happy that they're going to get that recognition at a televised ceremony.
And how well did All of Us Strangers do?
I think that was it here.
Just that one. Okay. Gotcha. Let's do, female actor in a musical or comedy: Fantasia Barrino, Jennifer Lawrence, Natalie Portman, Alma Poisty, sorry about that, Margot Robbie, and Emma Stone. I guess Emma Stone is going to be my pick here, but I mean, Fantasia can still win even though her film didn't get in. Margot Robbie is Barbie. I mean, without her, the movie wouldn't have done as well. But I'm gonna stick with Emma Stone here. She's just getting so much acclaim from critics. Let's start with Daniel on this one.
I think Emma Stone is close to a slam dunk here, both because Poor Things did so well. I think Barbie is closer for Best Picture than Margot is for Best Actress, just because it's a sort of lighter weight performance. You know, even though they're both comedy, Emma Stone there's much more of the physicality and it's a much more
Showy.
showy performance than Margot Robbie is giving. So I feel like Emma Stone probably has this one on lock.
And Denton?
Yeah, I have Emma Stone going all the way through the Oscars as well. So she's going to be my pick. In the old days, we don't know how the voting is going to turn out, but in how things used to be, there was a strong possibility for musical artists to prevail at the Golden Globes. So I feel like Fantasia would have had a strong shot, like when Madonna won, and then she wasn't even nominated for the Oscar, and when Lady Gaga won for Horror Story. They loved those musical performers becoming actors, but I think Poor Things performed so well, I just can't see how Emma Stone can lose this.
And Ray, you've seen it twice. Do you agree?
Oh no, I'm going totally with Alma Poisty in this. No, I'd never heard of the woman before this morning. That was the only to my mind huge surprise of the morning was Alma Poisty in a film and in a performance I had never heard of. Emma Stone, I just I was in awe of her performance, and seeing it a second time over the weekend. Very showy. But obviously far different. I know there are different categories at the Globes, far different than what the stoic performance that Lily Gladstone gave. But I've almost never seen a better performance of someone in a film, in an offbeat film, than Emma gives in Poor Things, and I just don't see it. I don't see her losing here. The only one that would absolutely have a shot would be Margot Robbie, and I think. I think, as has already been discussed, that film's going to blow its wad on box office and music here.
Blow its wad.
So to speak. I think I watched too many. I was too influenced by Poor Things. Now everything is sexual. Sorry.
And then the last of the lead categories is male actor in a musical comedy. Nicolas Cage got in, Timothée Chalamet, Matt Damon, Paul Giamatti, Joaquin Phoenix, and Jeffrey Wright. Denton, why don't you start this one up?
This is a good category. I think I'm probably going to go with Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, just because it's such an actor's acting performance. Jeffrey Wright is right up there. I think this is a two-man race. Definitely between those two. Joaquin Phoenix was a bit of a surprise for Beau's Afraid. That film did not do well. Matt Damon, not so much of a surprise for Air. Air did pretty well. I mean, it got in for picture, and Matt Damon. That might be a film that has been a little underestimated this award season, so it'll be interesting to see how that film performs at SAG and then potentially the Oscars. But I'm probably going to go with Paul Giamatti, but Jeffrey Wright is right up there, so that's close. Daniel?
Well, I just want to say Matt Damon gives his funniest performance since The Martian in this one's a little bit more fitting in comedy. But yeah, I agree. It's Paul Giamatti or Jeffrey Wright. I'm going to give the edge to Jeffrey Wright just because I feel like that film is going to end up peaking at the right time. But yeah, it's going to be a close call between those two. Although Paul Giamatti, didn't he win for Barney's version? Is that the title of it?
Barney's version, and he won for John Adams. So he's been well rewarded here.
But nothing, I feel like nothing really matters, right? I mean, I feel like the history here is sort of a clean slate.
That's true.
And Jeffrey Wright actually has one for Angels in America, but none on the film side. Ray?
I feel like Giamatti gives a great performance and could very well be rewarded here. And I feel like he's the favorite, although, you know, I would vote for Jeffrey Wright if I had a vote, just because he's so good. He's so intrinsic to how well American fiction played on the screen. But is it wrong to think that, unless this is a aberration, there are still issues with the Globes in terms of rewarding people of color in acting categories. And I feel like maybe they might want to honor Jeffrey Wright just in part to show this isn't your mom and dad's Golden Globes, that we really are open to all to all races here now in terms of who we honor. As much as we want to think that doesn't come into play, it probably does.
Well, let's wrap up by talking about the supporting races real fast. Supporting actress, Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, Jodie Foster, Julianne Moore, Rosamund Pike, and Divine Joy Randolph. And then supporting actor, Willem Dafoe, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling, Charles Melton, and Mark Ruffalo. Daniel, who is winning these ones?
Supporting actress is tougher, I think. I mean, Julianne Moore is in the most nominated movie in this category with 4. I don't think she's going to win it. I think it's probably Divine Joy Randolph. I give it to her just because Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple, didn't get in for picture. So I'd say Divine Joy Randolph there. And supporting actor, I feel like one of the worst things for Cillian Murphy is that all of the acting kind of attention for Oppenheimer is going to end up manifesting around Robert Downey Jr., who has the stronger narrative. So I see him being sort of the acting standard bearer for that film.
I just want to mention, even though Color Purple is not nominated for picture, it's happened 4 times in this category in the past 15 years. Angela Bassett for just last year for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Jodie Foster for The Mauritanian, Viola Davis for Fences, Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs. They all won in this specific category without their films getting in. So it is possible. Danielle, don't worry. You're still in this race. Denton, what about you?
And on that note, I'm picking Danielle to win. I still think she can win. I still think she gives such a dynamic, well-rounded performance. I think this will be where The Color Purple is rewarded. And but it's a tight race, and Taraji didn't make it in here. She was really the big snub of this category. Although I will say that I love that Rosamund Pike made it in for Saltburn. I thought she was fantastic in that film. I like the Saltburn love. I wish it would have got in for film. I was wrongly predicting it might sneak in, but happy for Rosamund. And then in terms of supporting actor, I agree that Robert Downey Jr. probably has the edge. It probably will be the only acting award for Oppenheimer, and Willem and Mark could split for Poor Things, although I am the personal cheerleader for Mark Ruffalo. He's my favorite performance of the year, so he would get my vote, but probably not my prediction.
And Ray?
I'm with Denton on Danielle Brooks, who is so good in this film and almost steals it out from under everyone, Fantasia and Taraji. I feel like she, and she gives a showier performance in terms of votes than Devine does. But much as Denton just said, Rosamund Pike is kind of a dark horse. She's so good and hilarious in Saltburn. I'm going to give it to Danielle with an asterisk next to Rosamund. And in terms of actor, it's a little weird, a little apples and oranges having drama and comedy together like this for supporting actor. You'd think that drama would have an edge. But given that, Robert Downey Jr. is probably, going to sweep his way through the Oscars as well, and he's got to be looked at as the favorite here. But God, Mark Ruffalo is good. He is just so funny. And but then there's also the Charles Melton angle, who is already starting to build momentum. I mean, there's a lot of different angles that could come into play here.
And I will agree with you all about Danielle Brooks. I think she's got this one for supporting actress. For supporting actor, boy, I don't know what to do. I just looked at Robert Downey Jr.'s Globe history. I forgot that he's won twice. Well, he won for Sherlock Holmes and he won for Ally McBeal, and then he has a special award for Shortcuts. So he has 3 Golden Globes. Like, I don't think they're clamoring to give him another one. I may go with Ryan Gosling. I don't know. Charles Melton is rising. This is a tough category.
I mean, Gosling
especially
wouldn't.
watch out for. He's like that hot new thing. And the Golden Globes used to love that. We don't know if this organization will fall suit behind that, but if they fall more in line with like a normal critics group, then Charles Melton is especially strong because he seems to be a very much a critics darling.
Melton or Gosling, either one of them wouldn't shock me. I mean, in terms of just the Golden Globes.
Right. Any final thoughts here on the film nominations? I mean, there's a lot of categories we didn't have time to get to today, but I'm sure we'll do a slugfest later in the season where we talk about every single category.
I mean, I'll just say that it was a big miss for American Fiction and The Holdovers to both miss screenplay. They were number 2 and 3 in our odds, so that was sort of a shock. And I would also congratulate Celine Song for getting in Best Director for Past Lives. Past Lives had a really good morning.
What about Daniel? Any final thoughts?
No, just not too many surprises here, but also nothing really egregious. We saw women nominated for directing and writing. We saw a decent amount of diversity across the board. It feels like there won't be a hashtag Golden Globes so anything this year. So thankfully for that. But yeah, it's an exciting list.
And Ray.
I think there's going to be a lot more alignment between the Globes and the Oscars than usual. It feels like, the Globes usually like to go their own way in the past. And this seems a lot more aligned with something we could have predicted, As we said, very few surprises. I feel like these Globes are, they were trying to establish to some degree that they were, that they're a little more in bedrock now, and they're not just all over the map. This feels like them trying to be a little more conventional.
And I just wanted to end by saying Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'm so glad it got 3 nominations today, more than The Color Purple. Who predicted that? But especially for Daniel Pemberton and score, I'm going to be rooting for him. Thank you, everybody, for watching our Slugfest, and go make your predictions right now at Gold Derby in this for this award show and the Oscars and so many other things. Thank you for watching.